You've heard her voice more times than you probably realize. Caitlin Glass is one of the most recognizable names in English voice acting. A magna cum laude graduate of the University of Texas at Arlington, she was hired by Funimation on the spot during a studio tour before she ever finished her degree. That's how her career began. It never slowed down. From Winry Rockbell in Fullmetal Alchemist to Mina Ashido in My Hero Academia, Caitlin has voiced some of the most beloved characters in anime history. She's also a veteran ADR director and scriptwriter, shaping how entire series land for English-speaking audiences around the world. And she's a follower of Jesus who brings that identity into every room she walks into. At NCMS, Caitlin brings a voice that knows how to connect with culture because she's been living inside of it for over 2 decades. Please welcome to the Nerd Culture Ministry Summit, Caitlin Glass.
I'm going to sit right here next to you, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here, have a drink of water. You've earned it.
To
Yeah,
that
there you go.
Slightly unorganized word vomit.
Hey, anybody who has ever got up in front of anybody and said anything worth anything to anybody, right? That's a lot of nothing I just said there. But it's a lot like that. And you were saying a lot of the people in this room are streamers, and I'll tell you what, one thing I know about a stream is it is scuffed a lot. And so people drilling outside and climbing up and down and mics popping, that's just Tuesday. That's all that is. You did great, yeah. Hey, Caitlin, we want to kind of ask you a couple questions here and just kind of dig in a little bit to some of the things that you were talking about. And as I was sitting over there, I was thinking a little bit about what we're doing here. Our whole thing is onward, right? Like getting off the proverbial couch and moving forward.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think struck with me was that you were saying a lot of your kind of halting and hesitation came from within the church, okay? I also have just kind of always been, I think I was born a Christian. I think that's how that worked for me. And so, but can you kind of help us to understand what were some of the motivating factors for you? And then secondarily to that, what's helped you to kind of
continue?
Keep it going.
You know that verse, do not despise the day of small beginnings. And things are always going to start small. I mean, unless you're Jesus and like 1 million people show up and you got to feed them, 5 fish or whatever. It could happen still. But maybe whatever it is you're starting stays that little. Maybe it grows. But those individual people still matter to God. He left the 99 to follow the one. That doesn't mean he didn't care about the 99. It means he knew they're cool, these sheep are fine, but that one needs me. So let me go get it. And these little services that we started doing at anime conventions, we had that one, the very first one, we're like, look at all these people in this lobby. But then the next time we tried to do it, it was like 5 people. Yeah. But they still mattered to God. Right. And back at home, I served at a mega church, guys, with like 3 services. I don't even know. Too many services to count. I don't know how I even had a voice left after singing as much as I sang on every Sunday morning. Thousands and thousands of people. And they all matter to God too. Mm-hmm. But the fact that like leadership at that church didn't want me to be gone serving those 5. I knew that wasn't right. I just knew that wasn't right. And God bless that church and everybody there and all the people that meant so much to me for that time. So that was just kind of a lesson that I learned, and I held on to that one. And over the years, how have I kept at it? Just by trusting the Lord. That sounds so cliche. And it doesn't mean that I always do. I say that to you being honest. I know that I should trust the Lord more, and I don't. But when I have those imposter syndrome days, or those, gosh, should I really be here as a Christian? Is it really okay for me to be directing this show? Or, whatever. I just have to trust that I am where I am because he brought me there. And I'm going to stay in the car. I'm going to stay letting the creativity flow so that he can move me elsewhere if that's what he wants to do.
That's really great. One of those books you were talking about, the Bible, mentions...
Good one.
Yeah, it says that to him who knows what is right and doesn't do it, to him it's accounted as sin. Mm-hmm. And that has always been one of the scariest verses in the entire Bible to me, because it is so subjective, right? It's not objective. There's not a prescription that's being given about it. And so it seems to me like that's kind of the spirit of what you took into that, is like, I couldn't sit idly by. I knew that I needed to, regardless of all the other people in your life and in our lives that tell us that we shouldn't.
Yeah, and a lot of what I believed or knew was right, I didn't have a language to put to that and explain it to any other Christian. This book helps a lot with that. I'll even give you a page number. On page 192, if you get a hold of this one, there's a whole section called The Dialogue of Popular Culture. And it has to do with how Christians interact with culture, or how they've chosen to not, and how that hurts and harms them in their witness and in their ability to share the gospel with others, and in their ability for the gospel to shape them.
You engage in what we would call marketplace ministry. Okay, so that is, you're not like vocationally on a church staff, 9 to 5 or 9 to 9, around the clock. Some of the pastors in this room, but and I even have we have mutual friends. One of them is Chris. Spot.
Oh.
Yeah, and so like it's really good to know some of their stories personally, which this is not the space to share any of those things, but to know that, and to know that there are people that are in their lives, in the spaces where they walk, in the hallways, wherever those hallways may be these days, that are actually being the love of Jesus, the hands and feet of Jesus to them each and every day, in ways that nobody inside of a church on a Sunday morning would have an opportunity to do so.
And it's so important in this politically charged moment that I won't go into at all. But the lost that we're talking about are more likely to see and engage in media that tells them how awful Christians are and how bad the church is. And if they know actual Christians who aren't that, then they can still be accepting and open to the gospel. And they need it. So, we just have to be his hands and feet. There's no other way. There's no other way.
One of the most beautiful things to hear from somebody who is outside of the faith is to go, not all Christians, let me tell you about my friend Caitlin, right? And I tell you, that is, you want to talk about imposter syndrome. When you start to think about all the things that you've done wrong, and that your life is terrible, and where you didn't do the right thing in that day or with that person.
I'm not texting. I'm looking up something from a friend because I want to read it. I want to read it. On Easter, I got a text from a friend of mine who is not believing, but I've known them for over a decade. Happy Easter, my love, and thank you for being one of the ones out there living his truth as he would want. You inspire a lot of people like me and keep us sane. Thank you.
That's not a statistic. That's a story, right? That's a story of a life changed by simply doing the thing that God has called you to do, that you are crazy gifted at.
Thank you.
Right? I mean, like, crazy gifted at. A lot of people want to go into voice acting, and it's just different. But, it's to do the thing that God has called you to do, at least for this moment in time, right? If your voice goes out tomorrow, you're still called by God. I think that you are, just into something that is different and changes the next chapter.
Gosh, a friend of mine, a Christian friend in the industry, is dealing with that right now. God bless her. She and her husband, they're a young married couple. Her name's Danny Chambers. I'm going to say her name so y'all can write it down and pray for her. She is such a stunning, wonderful actress. She's so gifted. She loves Jesus, and she's such a real person. She's like a real human, and she's one of those that will come up to me and be like, girl, we gotta talk, and like, can you pray for me? And I'm like, yes. Like the kind of like that one friend at the office that you like run around the corner to like hold hands and pray with. That's Danny to me. And she had a baby a year ago. He was born premature. He's doing great. Baby is doing great. all of the things that a woman goes through to have a baby affected her in such a way that she cannot perform the voices that were her bread and butter, which are like child voices, authentic child voices. And she loves kids too. And it's been a year now. He's a year old, and her voice is improving, but she also like kind of is like the breadwinner at times. It kind of goes back and forth between she and her husband, who's making the money this month, you know? And so she's really had to trust God to make ends meet for her small family. But is she to believe that this isn't what God made her for anymore, just because there's a bit of a setback right now? I don't think so, because like I said, our industry needs the light that she carries. Yeah. So
being faithful through everything, through the trials and adversity. Hey, I could talk to Caitlin all day. Does anybody have a question that they would like to ask her? Steve? I'm looking right over here.
It's
yeah.
like the Spider-Man meme. I have a question. You have one. They have questions.
You talked a bit about how you were cast out because of your hobbies and things that you love. How did it feel to find a place that you were accepted as well?
Gosh, it was so wonderful. There was not like a wilderness period. I was not wandering in the wilderness going, where can I be a nerd? You know, like I thankfully had already kind of landed in that place. It was just knowing that I was allowed to be there and understanding that I could be the light in that spot. And God will provide for you. Whether it is the one person, the Danny Chambers in the hallway, and there are a lot more than Danny, but like when I first got started, there was like, oh my gosh, guys, it wasn't just one actor on this one day. So January 2004 is when I got that gig first, and by the fall, as I mentioned, I was Winry, and I went to my first anime convention, and I was a fan of anime, but I just hadn't gotten into the fandom enough to go to a con, and now I'm working in it and going to my first show just like as a little fan. And I'm sitting in a panel room, just in the room, while my new friends that I've made over the last 9 months are doing the thing. And one calls me out and goes, and there's my friend Caitlin, and she's Winry in Fullmetal Alchemist. And the whole room turns around and goes, the show had not even come out yet, you guys. And this is 2004, where you're either watching everything illegally or you're watching it on Toonami, okay? But there's all this hype because, of the internet and magazines that telling you Fullmetal Alchemist is coming, or you've read the manga or something. So everyone wants to, meet me. I'm like, I could suck at this. You don't even know. But all right. So then the convention's like, well, you just want to be on these panels with these guys like the rest of the con? And I'm like, I guess so. So now I'm meeting folks that were like my voice acting heroes and then coming to find out that they also love Jesus, like Johnny Young Bosch, for example. Or another actress who doesn't really work much anymore, but her name is Brianne Siddall. She's pretty old school, but she also loved Jesus. And Carrie Savage. And I spent the weekend with these people, and I was like, what? Oh, okay, so there is a place for me here. We talk a lot right now in this moment in entertainment about opportunity and authenticity in diversity in casting and stuff like that. And part of the reason that is important is to show other people that they belong in the industry. Like black and brown voices belong as voice actors. I'm gonna prove it to you. I will cast some. Look, don't they sound great? So that is awesome to open the ears of the listeners, but even better for the aspiring actor out there who never thought it was something they could do. So in the same way, being a Christian in entertainment shows other Christians you're allowed to be here. I didn't really answer your question. I told you, people ask a question and then I will just go off.
Steve's a smart guy. He'll figure it out. Yeah.
So it felt great to find a community. It felt great. Like I said, he sets up the lonely in families. Everything I thought I was about to have by getting married was pulled away from me, much like a tablecloth, swiped off, and I felt like everything on the table just kind of teetering around. But then when it all settled, there was a family there for me already. God had already prepared it. The Holy Spirit goes ahead of you. He makes a way for you. He will.
Always somebody there. Love that. This question over here. Nate?
How has your role as a light bearer changed in your directorial position versus acting? Do you feel like
I think it's very important to me to make my studio a safe space. And I love to hear that from actors, that my booth is their favorite booth to come to, that I understand them, I give them freedom to play, that they just feel comfortable there, that they aren't being controlled there. They're allowed to, like, you know, let their actor out, I guess. So that is part of my responsibility. And then, as I mentioned, like, justice and equity in casting has also become extremely important to me there. And just community building, right? That voiceover and anime community was a place for me to land, and there are so many people and actors out there also looking for that community too. So I try to make it a welcoming space for them.
Yeah, it's really good to be at the top of any pyramid or close to it, to be able to help people that can't get to the top get a little bit higher on the rung. We'll take 2 more. Yeah, Bones?
So, in the nerd culture, there is no shortage of people telling you that what you're doing is wrong. And you mentioned that there have been projects that you question, how am I supposed to glorify God in this project? Has there ever been projects that you feel God has just outright told you you are not supposed to do this, and how did he tell you?
You know in your heart, you know, in the same way when you're like a kiddo that's about to like steal something that they shouldn't, and you know that you shouldn't. It's just a knowing. So that way, if there was ever any kind of ambiguity about a project or the possibility of doing it, then I would kind of explore that, ask questions of it, ask questions of God about it. A really great piece of advice I've received in my life in general is, when you're not sure about a decision, try it on. Pretend that you made that decision, you know, just at home in bed, and like for the next day, live with it as if that's the choice that you made, and let yourself think that that is something that you've done, and then take note of what comes up. Like, oh, actually, this is, it's okay, you know, or wait, no, this won't be good because, yeah, sure, I've been in shows, I've been in anime that I don't honestly think that show glorifies God, but the other thing, I also have a very keen understanding of what my role, no pun intended, is as an actor. What is my job as an actor? How do I be the best actor? What does that entail? And very much entails being like a witness in a courtroom. I get up on the stand and I tell the truth to the best of my ability. And then I thank God for his grace if I happen to be in something that maybe I should have not done. I'm sorry, I'm human. I'm just human. And that's what's really difficult about being a Christian in entertainment, is that when other Christians know you are one, they put you on this pedestal and expect for you to make all of the right decisions for them, to make all of the good content for them to show their children, you know? And like, that's not what I'm called to do. If you're called to be a parent, you need to have that discernment.
That's not me feeling convicted. I don't know about you guys. Yeah.
And then there are other times where I don't know, I can't quit my job, and didn't feel that I was led to quit my job in a circumstance, but very recently, just like 2 years ago, a bunch of stuff fell through with how the shows we're going to direct as a team of directors. There are 12 of us at Crunchyroll. They kind of all get doled out. And I ended up with something I very much did not want to do. I did not approve of the storytelling. I just didn't like where it was going, but they're like, well, and I was even bringing up all of these points. So I read the material, and I'm like, this is why I don't even think we should be dubbing this. Like, I don't think this is something that needs to be on our channel. I get that people are into this, and that's fine, but like, really, culturally, as Americans, do you want, I don't know. You know, I was bringing that stuff up as that's part of my job when there's a content warning, to let my producers know, because they can, at their level, discuss that. But they're contractually obligated, because they signed, not my bosses, but someone higher up in the company, above my pay grade, told Japan, yes, we will dub this thing. I just threw my earring somewhere. We'll leave it down there. We'll leave it down there.
It lives down there now.
So they have to. And all the other directors have assignments already, except for me. So now I have to. And I'm like, well, Lord, please help me do this to the best of my ability. And thank God he actually gave me an out. I still had to get the project started, but I decided to take a tiny leave of absence because we had a death in the family. So I was like, they were able to work something out with one of my fellow directors who graciously said once he finished whatever he was doing, he would swap and take over this project. So I needed to cast it and get the first episode going. And I did that, and then I was off for like 2 or 3 weeks to go grieve and be with my family. So like that was my out. But I still cast it as if it was my own show. And I'm proud of the actors that I chose. And for the people that enjoyed that show and for the people within that community, it meant so much to them. And they were even like, Caitlin, we're so glad that we got to work with you on this first episode. And I'm like, I don't understand, but okay. You know, like God's gonna use it and not everybody is going to understand. That's just how it is.
I think that goes back to the being faithful thing. Like God has called you to do this in this space, and so I am going to do it. I was talking to somebody just earlier today about the idea of Abraham taking Isaac up the mountain, and not knowing really, hoping beyond hope, what might actually transpire.
Give me an out.
Yeah, and I mean, the story gets real squirrely up till the very last second, and then there's a ram in the thicket. And so just being faithful, I think, is the thing. And not asking for forgiveness instead of permission, which I think is a different way that your heart bends.
Yes.
But saying, hey, I think God is going to move in a good way in this thing that he has called me into. And so I'm going to charge forward faithfully until he tells me not to.
Thank you for that question.
Awesome.
She has one over
One last question.
there. Lady.
Have you ever thought about writing your own show? And do you have any tips for voice actors or aspiring voice actors in the room?
I do not have the creative writing gene, I will say. Like, while I said, we're all creatives, we're all blessed to do different creative things. And me, as an actor and as a director, my gift is the interpretation of other people's words. And that's why I love reading the Bible so much, and that's why I love reading Shakespeare so much. And like, as an actor, it's my job to dig into the text and be like, what was the author trying to get at with this, and how, etc. I dig that. But I don't find myself a creative storytelling type person. Stories don't just come to me. They come to other people, and I'm grateful for them, and I love to read them, and I love to perform them. So no, I have not thought of making my own show. As far as becoming a voice actor, everybody wants to be one. I always say everybody has a voice, but not everybody is an actor. But that doesn't mean that you can't still be one. You have to go out and learn how to act. It's a real thing. You know, you can be blessed with a modicum of talent, and then you need to go and put your talent to use so that it can grow. Yeah. So for me, I'm old school and I went to college, you know, but it worked for me. I got a job straight out of college, and then you get an agent, and your agent helps you get work, and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of people out there who try to give shortcuts to becoming successful in voiceover, and you just have to be so very careful because they could just be grifters. Or they could be just struggling actors trying to make ends meet. And they may honestly have good information to share with you, tips and tricks that you can put into your tool belt. But I kind of say I'm not the best example of how to become a voice actor because I got so fortunate. Yeah. God blessed me with an open door. But, you know, they say in entertainment, it's who you know. But in this case, the guy I knew is a dude from church, you know? And not even my church. He was a friend of a guy at my church who like would come to, you know, Wednesday nights sometimes. You know, that's how I met that guy. But I know him. That's true. So who you know can get your foot in the door, but like your talent is going to actually bring you through the door and let you stay in the room. You know, so you have to invest in growing what God gave you.
Hone your craft like anything else, right?
Exactly.
Practice, practice, practice. You have the internet. So, hey, let's all say thank you to Caitlin.